He be having nights, we be both having nights. Like when he come to my house, we just do it every time we get in an argument.
So what? So y'all, okay.
So you guys get in arguments and you put up knives?
You on? I'm on. I'm on, yeah. I mean, I already talked to her, sorry.
And then I had the knife, but I was...
Were you guys arguing before that?
No, we was just over here fighting, and then...
So fighting, you were
So you guys are arguing?
Yes, and then, well, we wasn't arguing, we was just like play fighting and stuff. And that's when he was making me mad, and that's when I had the knife right here. And then he ended up running to it. But I'm not thinking, because he already knew I had it. He was trying to get it from me, but he ended up running to it.
Okay. Do you have an ID?
No, I don't have no ID.
Do you know your social? Listen,
My
listen.
last four.
You know your last four? Okay. What? I'm not saying, look, we're trying to figure what's going on.
You know, like, what's going to happen. I just need him to wake up.
I don't know, and they're working on him, okay? Just relax. They're working on him.
If he alive, then what?
Huh?
Where we go from there?
We gotta take him to the hospital.
Okay, and then what?
And then we'll just go from there. When he wakes up, we talk to him and everything.
He's like...
It will always be a fact that you are a murderer. You are a demon seed that your parents brought into this world to bring suffering on everybody else. Shame on them.
She did a crime, she need to pay the time. Simple as that. Why would it feel better because she's on total lockdown?
With some breaking news, a teenage girl who stabbed her boyfriend to death has been sentenced to 17 years in prison. The stabbing happened back in 2024 when both she and the victim were just 17.
4 hours before her son was killed, Nathalie Jean was singing Mariah Carey with him in their living room. We Belong Together. A pink Christmas tree in the corner, December the 20th, 2024. 4 days before Christmas. 4 hours after that, her 17-year-old son was on the ground in a Miami parking garage with a 4-inch blade through his heart. And the girl who put it there was sitting on a curb telling a police officer it was an accident. They had been play fighting. He had run into the knife. The officers on scene that night had no reason yet to push back on her story. She had no prior arrests. She was 17. She was crying. They questioned her in that garage. And they let her go home. This is the story of what Nathalie Jean did next. For 38 days, every single day, until the prosecutor's office did something they had not, until that point, been willing to do. This is the story of Yahkeim Keimo Lollar and the mother who refused to let her son become a case folder somebody filed away. You do not kill somebody and then go home. That is the part almost every family who has lost somebody to a stabbing will tell you about. It does not happen. The person who did it gets arrested in that garage or in their living room or at their school the next morning. They do not get to go home. But on December the 20th, 2024, that is exactly what happened. When Miami police arrived at that parking garage minutes after Jahara Malik's 911 call, Keimo was already on the ground bleeding to death. Paramedics rushed him to Ryder Trauma Center at Jackson Memorial. The trauma surgeons did everything they could. Yahkeim Keimo Lollar was pronounced dead that night. While the surgeons were trying to save him, a Miami police officer was in that parking garage talking to the 17-year-old girl who had just put a 4-inch blade through his chest. What she told the officer on body camera was that it was an accident. They had been play fighting. He had run into the knife. She had grabbed it from her house instead of her pepper spray because she didn't know where her pepper spray was that night. And she was about to call an Uber, and she felt she needed protection. That was her version. On the body cam, she had blood on her hands. She was 17 years old, and she was talking to a police officer like he was a guidance counselor. At one point, she asked him what was going to happen. If he alive, then what? She said. Where we go from there? That is the question, isn't it? Where do we go from there? She had no prior arrests on her record. The officers on the scene that night had her version. They had what looked from the outside like a tragic moment between two teenagers, and they did not yet have a reason to push back. They questioned her in that garage, and they let her go home. Imagine being Nathalie Jean that night. You were singing "We Belong Together" with your son 4 hours ago. He is a straight A student. He is a running back. He has a pink Christmas tree in his living room because he decorated it with you. You have plans for Christmas 4 days away. Now somebody from the hospital is telling you he is not coming back. Somebody from the police is telling you the person who killed him went home. And nobody in any room, in any office, in any phone call you make that night is using the word arrest. Nathalie Jean did not accept that. For more than a month after her son's death, she did 3 things every single day. She went down to the Miami-Dade State Attorney's office. She talked to every camera and every reporter who would put a microphone in front of her, and she got the community organized. There were shirts with Keimo's face on them, his name underneath, the words "Justice for Keimo" across the back. Signs with his name held up outside the prosecutor's building, protests on the sidewalk, a mother walking the same block day after day, until the prosecutors who worked in that building could not enter or leave without seeing her face. She gave interview after interview. She named her son to every camera. She refused to let him be reduced to the 17-year-old victim in the next news cycle's headline. She made the prosecutor's office answer the same question every single day in front of a microphone. When are you arresting the girl who killed my son? Nathalie Jean was not going to let her son become a case folder somebody filed away. While that was happening on the street, Miami police investigators were doing their work. They pulled the surveillance footage from the parking garage. The first thing that footage did was contradict the play fighting story. There was no play fighting visible in the moments before the stabbing. There was a stairwell. Jahara walking up the stairs, glancing at the camera, smiling. And then there was the audio. What investigators pulled off that recording is the reason this case has the ending it has. It is the reason the play fighting defense collapsed in a Miami courtroom 14 months later. And it is the reason a judge in May of 2026 did what she did. A Miami police sergeant named Juan Santos pulled that audio. What he heard on that recording was not the voice of a kid messing around with his girlfriend. It was the voice of a 17-year-old boy in his last seconds of life, pleading, "Jahara, don't." Sergeant Santos confirmed it under oath in open court. When the prosecution played that audio for the courtroom during sentencing, some of Keimo's family had to leave the room. 2 women walked out crying. Others stayed and watched every second. Nobody in that gallery left the same. The medical examiner came back next. Cause of death, homicide. A single stab wound, 12 to 6 angle, full blade depth, straight into the heart. And then prosecutors did one more thing in that courtroom that broke the defense's framing entirely. They asked Sergeant Santos to stand up. In her police interview, Jahara had demonstrated the way she was holding the knife when Keimo, in her version, ran into it. Santos showed the court that grip, loose, low, casual. The kind of grip you might hold a knife in if you were just standing there in your kitchen, about to put it back in a drawer. He held it down by his hip. Then the prosecutor walked over to a diagram of Keimo's body. She pointed at where the stab wound actually was. Up high, direct angle, 12 to 6, full blade depth, straight to the heart. The grip Jahara had demonstrated could not have reached where that blade went in. Not from where she was standing, not from where he was standing. The geometry did not work. She would have had to lift the knife, deliberately, above her shoulder and bring it down to put it where it ended up. The grip was a lie. And once the grip was a lie, the play fighting was a lie. And once the play fighting was a lie, the accident was a lie. That was the moment the courtroom understood what they were actually looking at. There were other things in the prosecution's file by then. Jahara's phones. A previous incident with a knife, weeks before December the 20th, that Keimo's family had known about. a text message in which Jahara had said the words, "I want blood," a school fight that had gotten her suspended for 10 days. Surveillance footage of that school fight got played to a judge during a pre-trial hearing. After the judge saw it, she elevated Jahara's house arrest to total lockdown. By late January of 2025, more than 38 days after Keimo had been killed, Miami-Dade prosecutors made the call. Jahara Malik was arrested. She was charged as an adult. The charges were manslaughter and carrying a concealed weapon, 38 days. That is how long Nathalie Jean had to walk that sidewalk before the office inside it gave her what every mother in her position asks for, the word arrest, used out loud about the person who killed her son. 14 months after the arrest, Jahara Malik walked into a Miami courtroom with no plea deal on the table. She was about to find out what the judge thought she was worth. Defendants do not do this. You take a plea because a plea protects you from the maximum sentence. A plea caps your exposure. A plea gives your lawyer something to negotiate. Jahara's defense team, led by an experienced Miami attorney named Larry Handfield, had a coherent argument they could have walked into negotiations with. No prior convictions on her record, her age at the time of the killing, the absence of clear premeditation in the legal sense, genuine remorse. Handfield could have used those pieces to bargain. He did not. In March of 2026, Jahara stood up in court and pleaded guilty to both charges with no deal in place. She let Judge Christine Hernandez decide her own sentence, with the maximum still fully on the table. Sentencing came on May the 5th, 2026. 10 people stood up for Keimo. His aunt called Jahara a demon seed. His father told the court his son had been undercharged, that this should have been a murder case, not a manslaughter case. His mother, Nathalie, said it the cleanest. She gave my son a death sentence. Then Jahara stood up and addressed them. She said she was reckless. She said the family wanted her in prison, but she was already in her own prison for the rest of her life.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
Jahara Malik.
Yes, sir. Please state honest to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Can you have a soft voice? Can you speak up, please?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Your Honor, I've been thinking about what to say for a long time. And the truth is, there are no perfect words for something like this. When everyone reads a speech before they get sentenced, they ask for mercy. But I'm here to accept my consequences for what I have done. The night that everything happened, not one thought in my mind was to leave or run. I didn't want this to happen. I was thinking about saving someone else's life instead of myself. That's why it was a quick reaction for me to wrap his shirt around my hand, apply pressure to his wound, and stop the bleeding while communicating with 911 to assist me. I wanted him to live. I understand that trying to help does not undo the harm. I stayed because at the end of the day, I was at fault. I would rather live knowing I tried to help than live knowing I left him there when I could have possibly saved his life. I was reckless. That knife should have never been out, and because of that, a life was lost. I was wrong for what I did, and every day I sit and think about the damage I caused. The family wants me in prison, but I'm in my own prison for the rest of my life. I understand that I have to be very mindful when it comes down to this, to making decisions and being more, being more aware on choices that have consequences behind them. This situation forced me to sit with myself in a way I never had to before. I had to grow up fast. I had to reflect. I had to reflect on who I am and who I want to be. I know I can't change the past, but I can change how I am moving forward and become a better person than I was before. To his family, I know an apology cannot do anything for you all, but after that night, I tried numerous times to reach out. I wanted to call Miss Nat and his dad so bad just to tell y'all how sorry I am and beg for your forgiveness, but I couldn't legally. I love y'all's son so much, and I never wanted this to happen to him. This was my best friend, my love, and someone I could vent to about any and everything. He was a good person and definitely should have been here. We would have been getting ready for prom and graduation right now. This is a sad situation. I miss him every day. I know there are memories, birthdays, holidays, things that will never feel the same without him. I wish I could go back and change what happened, but I can't, and that's the worst part. Y'all didn't deserve this pain, and I wish I hadn't been the one to give it to y'all. I pray one day the family could forgive me, and I want to say I'm sorry to his friends and his family. I know that I hurt y'all in a way that y'all can never forgive me, and I hope one day y'all can. When my mom that night after the detectives, I talked to them and they told me he was in surgery, and I knew something was wrong. I went to the room and my mom and my dad was there, and my mom was crying. And I'm like, why y'all crying? He's good, he's in surgery. My mom said the boy died and my life stopped after that. My heart was broken. All I could think about is him being gone. I just pray that we all heal from this, and I pray for closure, this is a sad situation from both ends. My family hurting too. We know y'all hurting. We hurting with y'all, and we not against y'all. We all in this together. Like we fighting for me, but we're on y'all side. We're not against y'all. Yes, thank you.
Judge Christine Hernandez sentenced Jahara Malik to 17 years in Florida State Prison, followed by 5 years of probation. After the verdict, Nathalie Jean walked down the courthouse hallway, singing the words, "Victory is mine," and then the judge added one more thing to the sentence. Every December the 20th, for the next 22 years, Jahara Malik has to sit down and write a letter to the Lollar family about what she did, about what it cost them. December the 20th of every year, for 22 years, the day she took him, the day she has to look at it. Nathalie Jean got her arrest. 38 days she walked that sidewalk for it. She got the trial. She got the 17 years. And she got something most grieving mothers never get, a court order that the person who killed her child has to keep saying her son's name every year on the anniversary until 2048. She made sure her son did not become a case folder somebody filed away. Was this justice or just a verdict? Pick one in the comments. And if you pick just a verdict, tell me what you would have given her if you were the judge. I read everyone.